It's Saturday, November 2nd, 2024, and I've got a ton of new information for you about all of these storms that we've been tracking. We're getting closer to them being on our doorstep. In fact, the severe weather starts today, so we've got a lot to talk about. Starting with the day one severe weather threat. There you go. We've got a slight risk in Oklahoma, Texas, and a little bit of New Mexico. This is driven by a hail and wind threat. However, there is a little tornado threat as well. 5% probability right here in Texas, and once again, that's little sliver of New Mexico there, where we have a 5% probability of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of any given point there in the brown. The green is 2%. The severe weather train does not stop there. Tomorrow, Sunday, November 3rd, we're going to have a much larger area under the gun for severe weather. Once again, wind and hail seem to be the main threats tomorrow, but we also have a much larger tornado probability area as well. So this includes places like Wichita Falls, Texas, the Red River area, and just a lot of south central Oklahoma. Tornado chances look a little bit better tomorrow actually than they do today, so we'll see what happens. Just keep an eye on the weather, make sure you've got a way of getting warnings, but it's not even done then. As we go into Monday, November 4th, we're going to have an even larger area under the gun for significant severe weather. Once again, the tornado threat on this day I think is going to be a little bit lower, and I think we're going to mostly be focused on the wind and maybe the hail threat here, but still a lot of people, like 17 million people, are going to experience severe weather on Monday as the system continues to move to the east. Here's what the radar could look like today around noon. You can see that we're going to have lots of morning convection kind of stabilizing the atmosphere for a lot of the areas that could see severe weather today. I think that the slight risk would be a lot larger if it wasn't for this morning time rainfall that we're going to be seeing. And this is actually heavy rain because we're already hearing about lots of flash flood warnings in New Mexico and Texas. We'll probably see those spread up into Oklahoma and Kansas as well. But what's going to happen here is down south of where that rain is happening this morning, the sun's going to come out and the air is going to destabilize, and you're going to start to see these storms forming, these supercells that will be capable of producing very large hail and some damaging winds. And then right at the beginning of those cells popping up, maybe even some tornadoes. At the same time, we're going to have some snow, some heavy snow squalls setting up back here in places like Idaho, Oregon, Washington, a little bit of Wyoming and Montana, some heavier rain and some snow in the Cascades back here in the Pacific Northwest. This is all associated with the same system, and it's going to take a while for it to get out of here. As I continue to push this into the future, about 8 or 9 p.m. tonight, a lot of those storms that popped up, those supercells, are going to start weakening. They're still going to be with us to some degree, especially down here in central Texas, but you can see that the rain is really just kind of regular rainfall at this point in portions of Kansas. The severe weather threat is going to linger with us at least until we get into the midnight period. This is when I think the damaging wind threat is going to be probably the only thing that we have to worry about. The tornado threat and the hail threat at this point is going to be going down quite a bit. However, if you're in Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, Texas, and all these places, then you definitely want to make sure you have a way of getting some warnings tonight, because it's going to be loud, it's going to be rough. And honestly, I think that the flash flooding threat is also going to be a big deal. Some of these storms are going to cause, training effects, and there's going to be 6 inches of rain in some places in a very short period of time. But watch what happens as we go deeper into tomorrow, Sunday afternoon, about 3 p.m. You can see that we've got new convection, new storms starting back here around Altus, Oklahoma, back down to the south and west into more central portions of Texas. These storms are going to be very strong, once again carrying the potential for some rotation. There's going to be a very real chance for some tornadoes tomorrow. Moderate to heavy rain will stretch from Oklahoma all the way up into Wisconsin, but the severe weather threat I think is going to be mostly back here around these new storms that'll be forming. Additionally, snow's going to come even farther south over here in the Rockies, the Four Corners region, all the way down into central and southern portions of Arizona and New Mexico, especially in the higher elevations. Could be seeing some heavy snow tomorrow, but all eyes are on this little spot down here as the severe weather continues to crank up towards Oklahoma City around 6 p.m. Strong storms possible, and then the whole thing is just going to continue on Monday. But I think what's going to happen on Monday is our storm's going to be more linear. We're not going to be talking as much about supercells. We're going to be talking about straight line damaging winds and, once again, heavy rainfall. To see any farther out into the future, we have to lower our resolution a little bit here on the NAM 12-kilometer model. You can see what I'm talking about as we go deeper into the day on Monday. We're going to have a squall line of potentially damaging storms moving through southern Iowa, down through the Kansas City region, through southwestern Missouri, through Oklahoma and Texas once again. This is going to be probably one of our most widespread and impactful severe weather events of the whole series, but I think the tornado threat hopefully doesn't look quite as serious here as it does on the first 2 days, and it's just going to be a wind thing. And the whole thing really falls apart on election day. You can see that about 1 p.m. on Tuesday, all of this line is going to be losing a lot of its steam as the system kind of gets too large, and there's not a lot of energy packed behind that cold front as it moves farther to the east. It is going to cause some rain showers, but for the most part, it's not going to be a big deal at all. Outside of the severe weather threat, the main problem we're going to see out of the storm system is just a prolific rainfall event, especially in Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri. I know that you guys need the rain. We've got a drought out here. However, it's going to come so fast that it will cause flash flooding in some places. So make sure you keep an eye on those creeks and streams, even in the yellow area and the slight risk here from eastern Iowa back towards Wichita Falls, Texas. You guys have got to watch out for some flash flooding as well. And that's just one aspect of the very interesting weather that we're going to be having over the next little bit. Now we've got to talk about the tropics because they are lighting up. We talked a lot this spring about how this was going to be an active hurricane season, and it has been, and it continues to be. On this November 2nd, we are talking about 3 potential systems, or actually 2 potential systems, and 1 fully formed subtropical storm Patty up there near the Azores, moving off to the east towards Spain and Portugal. That's right, this could make landfall somewhere in Europe over here as a tropical depression next week, which is plumb wild. Okay, it's going to cause lots of wind and rain over there, but thankfully it's not going to be a problem for much of anybody after it makes landfall. It is going to be a storm system for most of Europe, but this is going to be out of our hair pretty quickly. It's a tropical storm, a subtropical storm right now, and it will continue to be so right up until it gets close to Spain over there. So if you have interests in Portugal, Spain, or maybe even France, make sure you're paying attention to this one. But for the most part, our eyes are going to be back down here on the Caribbean. 2 potential systems. It looks like there is an 80% chance now that this one is going to become our next tropical depression, the one closer to the Yucatan Peninsula. And there's a chance, and we've been talking about this for a while now, there's a very real chance that this is going to go into the gap between the Yucatan Peninsula and Cuba, and that would be a worst case scenario. Here's the latest from the GFS model. You can see the storm trying to get its act together. Maybe by the time it gets to Jamaica here on Tuesday, November 5th, we've got a fully formed low pressure system, maybe even a tropical depression at this point. And then the GFS tries to float it right up into Cuba, maybe as a tropical storm or a low-end hurricane on Wednesday, November 6th. However, this is one of the only models that actually shows it going this far to the east. So I don't know if we should put any stock into the GFS or what. This is just one model, of course, but it does cross Cuba, and then it does still make it into the Gulf of Mexico. It deals with a lot of wind shear out here, which is one possibility that we really do have to consider, and it doesn't really show much of anything happening with it. It fizzles out, and it gets sucked up into this next system that's going to come up into the mid-latitudes about November 10th. So that's one possible thing that could happen, and honestly, that's probably what we should hope for, because that's probably a best-case scenario, because all of the rest of the models show the potential track that this storm is going to take. It's not going to cross over Cuba necessarily. It's either going to go over the western tip or through the gap between the Yucatan Peninsula and Cuba, and then that's going to allow it to not weaken over Cuba and rather gain intensity as it goes into the Gulf. Now, once it gets into the Gulf, and I'm pretty sure it's going to make it there now, there's a couple of things on our side. First of all, the waters in the Gulf aren't necessarily as warm as they were back when we had Milton go through there. And also, we've got all of these big mega troughs coming through the United States, and although those are going to try to magnetize and pull the storm up towards them, they're also going to just put out a ton of wind shear that could tear the storms apart. So I would definitely be watching this if I lived along the coast in the Gulf, anywhere from Texas all the way over to Florida. The potential landfall, if the storm makes it that far, is going to be literally anywhere in the Gulf at this point. However, breathe a sigh of relief, because we've got a lot of things on our side that could make this less of a big deal, and that's what we're going to be hoping for. All right, so we're doing a video today today. We're probably going to be doing a video tomorrow. We're definitely going to be doing one Monday. If any of these severe weather threats are going to cause us to go live, it's probably going to be on Monday. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on for that. I also expect that once we get a fully formed tropical depression with a track on it from that system in the Caribbean, we will likely be doing some videos and maybe even some live streams next week as well. So right now the probability is pretty low, but just keep an eye on the tropics. By the time we make our video on Monday, this will probably have changed a lot. So subscribe. There's a chance that we do daily videos. We've done them now for 4 days in a row. There's a chance that we do them for 7 more days in a row, as we've got just tons of weather happening out there. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. If you are, slap the like button, subscribe, turn notifications on, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.